I know.
You're working on that, Jenna. So I got that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's hyphenated.
Okay, form hyphen code based on hyphen code, right? Okay, that's how we'll do it. That's correct. That should be. So let me just add hyphens. Let's see that.
All right. Okay, so can we come to order at 6:06?
6:11.
6:11, sorry, I have my watch on. 6:11. Okay. 6:11. Okay. We're going to take attendance. Emily is here, Kevin is here, Jennifer Adams, Ellen is absent. Sick, Malia Brianna is excused, and Liz is here. And then Julie Noble, Michael Tierney is not here. Okay, so would the public like to identify themselves?
Sure, I'm Brendan Walsh. I'm a graduate student at Bard, and I live here in Kingston.
What program are you in for?
I'm doing environmental policy, a master's.
Great. Thank you.
Brett Pepper, I'm the urban forester for the city of Kingston.
Oh, are you the forester?
Yes.
Oh, good to meet you.
Your first name?
Brent.
Brent.
Hi, I'm Kayla Patel. I'm urban planning and project manager with Scenic Hudson, and I'm also a resident in Kingston.
You can, I forgot that. Okay. So this is Kayla Patel, and
I'm a spy,
you are?
yes.
Okay.
I'm also an architect. My name is Roger Bennett, and I'm just here to listen in.
That's okay. You can watch it on YouTube later. So if you forget anything. Okay, so we have a lot of guests. We didn't ask anyone to say anything. Is that correct, Julie? Okay.
Kayla and Dwayne will be presenting at the next meeting.
Mhm.
Brett was invited to acclimate with the team. That goes back and forth. I didn't put Brett on the agenda because I didn't want there to be any kind of pressure, but I figured there would be some sort of like, this is what I do. What do you do? Do you do this? Yes, I do this. No, I don't do this. And then we'll be on.
Now I don't even have to say anything.
So yeah, I would say to be mindful of Brent's time to let him come to the table and tell us about
Okay,
the work,
at any time.
probably at the beginning.
Okay, yeah. So usually, I know he probably wants to leave. He was just in the tree commission meeting, which is why I basically asked you to stay. Also, just because we wanted to get to meet you. So before we get to you, I do want to explain why Kayla is here, and then we'll take public comment if there is any. Kayla is at Scenic Hudson working with Dwayne Martinez. And what's the name of it's called the
We're on the River Cities program.
Urban Cities Program, and there's only 3 cities.
Yeah, the River Cities is what our program is called, but
Yeah,
it's
Rivers.
Kingston, I can't see it anyway.
Yeah, and so we had asked them to come and kind of tell us what they're doing. I'm sure you can read about it too, but Dwayne couldn't come, so they're gonna come. They're gonna give us a little more background and everything next time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. But she lives here in Kingston, so she could drop in, so we.
Yeah.
What was the third city? Kingston, Poughkeepsie,
And Newburgh.
Newburgh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, which, yeah, okay, so is there any, public comment? Okay. All right, so, Brett, you want to, Brent.
Brent, with that.
You come to the table, John.
Sure. Yeah.
By the way, if any of our guests would like an agenda, they are available.
So hi, everyone. As you may have heard from people such as myself 2 minutes ago, I'm the urban forester for the city of Kingston. 4 months into the position, can you believe it?
No.
Yeah. I can. Because it's been a really rewarding 4 months, sincerely, to get into Kingston and really kind of get to assessing how the city's urban canopy is and what needs are arising from it. So my position was created through the USDA's Urban Community Forestry Program grants. I'm sure you all have some familiarity with that, but from there, I have a backstory of being a consulting urban forester for various municipalities around the Chicago area. I'm a certified arborist, tree risk assessment qualified certification as well. Here for the city, I am focusing on a holistic lens when it comes to thinking about the urban canopy's needs, as far as the needs of the trees themselves and the needs of the community that the trees are planted within. My responsibilities are focused around street trees, but also include park trees for the city. Street trees being trees within the public right of way. And what else is going on from there? 2024, me coming in is like the transition period. 2025 is when a lot of the funding that's coming through the USDA and now also a separate grant through the New York DEC will start to be executed through planting programs, community events for like tree walks and also tree like work projects as well, addressing some outstanding maintenance needs for city street trees as well. And I think that's kind of like a general summarization of it. But I'd love to know if you all have questions for me as well.
I definitely have some. Brent is housed in the planning office by the book, but physically not in the planning office.
Correct, yeah. So I'm hiding in a different office within City Hall. You can find me
Two
over.
spies in the same room.
Yeah,
Are you full-time?
yes,
Are you full-time?
yeah,
I have a bunch of questions. I'll just have two, so other people can ask.
sure.
So, we have lost a lot of trees from our sidewalk. You know, we redid the sidewalks on Henry Street and Frank when I was a citizen activist trying to lobby preserving our mature trees. They all got cut down.
Absolutely.
A lot of trees have been planted, which is great,
Mhm.
but I'm really concerned. We have lost so many trees. Oak tree people just cut them down left and right. I know they're supposed to go to the tree commission.
Yes.
But even so, I feel the city has not been proactive
Mhm.
in protecting our existing trees, because I'm sure as you know, a 150-year-old tree, that's time. I mean, that takes 75 years. These small
Right.
trees, we're not gonna see that in our lifetime.
Exactly.
So I've been very concerned about that. So my question to you is, do you weigh in when there's a new project for the
Absolutely.
sidewalk or any kind of street plan?
Mhm.
And then you would weigh in and hopefully, if the trees are healthy, lobby to help protect them? Or what, you're just advisory, right?
Yeah, so when it comes to street projects, as they are carried out by, say, like the city's engineering department or Department of Public Works, I am currently advising on those. What has been really, really great for me is to come into this position and see that everyone is happy to finally have someone to actually give advisement that is connected to, like arboricultural sciences and that sort of thing. And as a result, even in the most recent projects that are going on, say like Prospect Street, for example, in Uptown, or Post Office Park, just right across the street over here, I've been on site coordinating, even though these plans have already been made and everything, I can still come in and be like, here's some red flags that I see very clearly. Let's adjust these plans to accommodate successfully planting these trees.
And so your job also involves maintenance, like helping trim tree, keep
Yeah.
trees healthy, because we really haven't had someone doing that, right?
It's true. So maintenance needs for trees are one of like the high, as far as like different needs go right now, maintenance is definitely the highest for the city's existing urban canopy. The navigation that you have to do is that the current city code puts the responsibility of maintenance of the street trees
On the property owner.
on the abutting property owner. There are plenty of opportunities for the city, when it has the resources to do so, namely funding, to do either in-house or to contract out maintenance for trees, which is within the scope of the 2 grants that I am currently operating under. Additionally, I have been told by the DEC that there will be everything could change in January, as we all know when it comes to grant stuff, but there's plans for additional grant funding coming through specifically to focus on current canopy maintenance, such as prunings, updating tree inventories, that sort of thing. And I'm very excited, should those grants become available too. I'm just trying to add more and more money.
Yeah, so hopefully that you would have more of a role regarding maintenance if the money comes through.
Yeah. So currently, a lot of the information that we have is based off of the city's 2018 inventory, which
I've read and seen.
yeah, which identified maintenance needs for every single tree. I have been taking this data and going back through it and recalibrating it to create like new levels of priorities based off of what you could project the needs would incline to be in the past 6 years, and then also doing like site inspections and that sort of thing.
And my last thing is, I was very concerned with the droughts we've had.
Mhm.
I've actually called Sue Cahill a couple times. 2 summers ago, we had that long drought because all those trees that were planted were
Yeah.
dying, and
Right.
some of them did die.
Yep.
So I know that it's not your responsibility to water them. I think Julie said DPW does that. But if somebody can pay attention, because we are having drier and drier spells, and if particularly these new trees,
Right.
I mean, usually takes a couple of years, I know from experience from planting my own trees. You have to water them or they're gonna die, so.
Yeah, establishment periods for newly planted trees are always going to be between 3 to 5 years. I am that person now.
Oh, so you are overseeing that?
Yeah.
So I would call you if I saw
Please,
it.
please do.
Okay, great, thank you for that permission. And my very last thing, and I'm sorry, one more thing quickly.
You're fine.
Are you gonna be auditing like the camp, like giving a, like reporting back? I mean, are you researching the health of the canopy of the city? Will we get any information about that?
Yep, yeah, so things that are in the pipeline to be available on the public side of things is going to be similar to how a lot of other city departments have status updates on Engage Kingston about various grant-related projects and what theirs are. The city is now building out those pages for specifically urban forestry as well. So that a overall canopy health assessment will be a part of a updated urban forestry management plan, which those potential grants that are coming in 2025 that I talked about, a new urban forestry management plan would be necessary for those grants.
To get the grant, you have to
Yeah,
study.
exactly.
Because the tree inventory is pretty amazing. I mean, it says number of trees, health of trees, but unfortunately, it seems like the city often doesn't follow it. Because it says try to preserve mature trees whenever they're healthy,
Exactly.
but always the engineers win out, it seems like.
Yeah, tree preservation is often overlooked. The values of a mature tree, even ones that are in decline, are frequently biased against because tree risk is so much more tangible. and,
Falling branches, you mean, or?
At the light end of things, yeah, falling branches, but it is completely possible to manage or mitigate risk in mature trees and preserve them around street projects as well. And that's priority.
Great, sounds really great. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Any other questions for him?
I have a couple questions. So you mentioned that some of the trees are the responsibility of the adjoining property owner to maintain. So as part of what you're going to do, some kind of like education program or outreach to those property owners, can you tell us a little bit more about what you're thinking there?
Yeah, that is probably the hardest thing to figure out to do. How do you tell 24,000 people how to prune trees? I'll figure it out. But long term, I will actually figure out what works and what doesn't. Part of that process is source materials that can be left at the properties where priority maintenance is needed for those trees. This is something that I've developed for other municipalities in the past. It can be as complicated as sending letters to the property owners by information of Ulster County, like parcel viewer and that sort of thing, to just even door hangers.
So a lot of them probably don't realize their
Exactly.
responsibility, right?
Yeah, that has been my anecdotal evidence so far in communicating with community members, is that there's not a lot of clarity as to whose management responsibility it is. So boots on the ground stuff is always like pretty direct and a one-to-one, but it is resource intensive to do that sort of thing. So on top of that, starting in 2025, it is going to be a series, all this is still in planning, so bear with me, but a series of location-based community education events that are like either focused purely on like the communication side and really engage with like various, like young people's or student populations within Kingston, and then more like broad events that engage like all community members, including like potential language barriers too, to either like give live demonstrations. Sometimes that's as simple as like a tree walk and kind of talking about trees and demonstrating some things. Can be done in either like a park setting or on a street. And then the other end of that is not that I've had to make any of that because I would not do a good job at it, but the Arbor Day Foundation and the ISA, which is the International Society of Arboriculture, have an amazing resource publication process of pamphlets going on everything from like the benefits and values of trees, new tree pruning maintenance, mature tree pruning maintenance, why not to do things like topping trees. And this information is available in pamphlets in both English and Spanish.
That's great.
Maybe you could talk to Central Hudson.
It's on the list, but it's a long list. Yeah.
One other question, so does your job begin and end with trees, or does it include like shrubs or like other elements of what we might think of as a forest?
Yeah, it focuses on trees. And trees is kind of like a wavering definition, weirdly enough. To be like very nerdy for a moment, in like the biological sciences, there is no such thing as a tree. There's a bunch of individual species which have co-evolved woody tissues to survive outside during cold temperatures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to give that definition.
Yeah, imagine the tree law side of things, of like, it's almost to the level of like, what is the definition of is, for certain people who may remember that, but beyond that, shrubs and that sort of thing fall more into like landscaping, somewhere in the space of like perennials and turf grass, ornamental sort of things, as opposed to street trees, which the main way to think about them is, are they a green infrastructure element to provide cooling, stormwater runoff, wind reduction, and million other things, but yeah.
And then also invasives. Invasive Norway maples are not as valuable as a red oak.
That is true. Norway maples were the darlings of urban forestry through the 50s to the 80s. So we live with the legacy of them being planted en masse. Kingston, that's definitely the case too. A good urban forestry plan would be taking trees which have come to be known as like invasive since their original introduction to this continent, and have a appropriate succession plan that balances the benefits that they provide with the detractors that they provide to the local ecology as well. Yeah.
And one more quick thing. Anyone else want to say anything?
I can't wait for the full presentation
I
next month.
always hear that, oh, we took, like, on Clinton Avenue, there was a huge oak. It was taken down, it was a street tree, and I heard, oh, because the roots were in the way. We hear this all the time. Streets were taken down Wall Street a gazillion years ago because of the pipes, and now we're hearing this again. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been through several generations of, so, I mean, I guess there's not
I'm
the
glad you're
question,
here.
but you would be able to assess that.
I was ready for it.
Okay, great.
But yeah, tree roots, and the conflict with them, either in the realm of, like storm, sewer kind of things, or tree roots with the conflict of sidewalks and the walkability of them. Kingston has it all on display right now.
Yeah, and you have your work map?
The easiest way to handle these sort of things, as far as any kind of new trees that get put in, is follow the very easy process of right tree, right place. Kingston has a very charming and historic landscape to its city. It also has incredibly narrow parkway strips, the space between the curb and the sidewalk to plant trees within in a lot of areas. So if it's a situation of only working with the existing soil volume that's there between the current curb and sidewalk, planting trees that make sense for that location was not done in the past, and that's how we've ended up where we are. With new plantings working within the current street setup, then yeah, we would be focusing on species that are never going to get to the size of causing these sidewalk
Right,
conflicts.
but I would hope on Green Street where there's a couple of really big uplifted bluestone, and I'm a big fan of bluestone.
Yeah,
Came down to taking down the tree or realigning the bluestone, I would say don't take down the tree because the shade is amazing. It would be terrible to lose all those trees.
You know, I agree with you.
Okay,
So
I mean, I just worry that trees cut down for sidewalks.
yeah, trees being cut down for sidewalks. If the goal is to have the sidewalk walkable, people will be less inclined to walk it if it's boiling in 1,000,000 degrees.
But you can go around the tree, there's
Yes.
other ways than to just take the tree
I
out.
should just note that we are need to be mindful of ADA compliance.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but I heard that, Julie, but then in the end, we were able to do bluestone on Henry Street after I
Yeah.
heard we couldn't do it because of ADA compliance. I heard that the sidewalk had to be a certain width, turned out, no, we didn't have to be 5 feet.
I'm just saying that.
So there's flexibility is what I'm trying to say.
Within a
Yes.
city's development and advancement and redevelopment, there are many different factors to take into consideration, including trees, ADA compliance, walkability.
But the sidewalks don't have to be this wide. I mean, there is flexibility, because there was on Henry Street and Franklin.
Yeah,
The
so,
sidewalk got smaller.
okay, so we have a big agenda.
Yeah, sorry.
So I wanted to just say welcome and to, I guess one thing, one of the things about the CAC is that we have an open space plan that says that we're gonna plant 1,000 trees by 2030.
Brenda is managing the
Yeah.
website for that.
Yeah, so you know that, okay, but we did that,
Yeah.
okay. And then.
I've done my research on it.
Okay, all right, so you don't, okay. Because the other thing is, we did a lot of work on the form-based code to make sure that trees were represented and native plants and so on, so.
Mhm. Yeah, I've read the open space plan.
Okay, but yeah, so, but also the form-based code, which
Oh,
is the
yes.
zoning,
Yes, yeah,
Kingston Port.
yeah. The zoning I'm also now steeped in as well. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about that. And,
Yeah.
oh, one more thing.
Yes,
Besides Arbor Day and all that,
Mhm.
we do have an Earth Day
yes.
festival. I guess Julie has told you that, so, don't-
We didn't specifically talk about it, but I do know that you have a Earth Day festival.
yeah. So hopefully you can be present in some way.
I plan to.
And maybe someday we can talk about tree ordinance, which we don't have.
Yeah,
Because some communities do regulate trees, not just street trees.
yeah.
Kingston has a really great opportunity to join a lot of other New York State communities in developing a more robust tree ordinance. There's a lot of potential there.
Great.
Great.
Do you have anything else?
No, I just, I love that characterization of it.
I agree.
You failed in not having a tree ordinance. We have a great opportunity to join the city. Yes.
Yeah, we don't mind if you say something as long as.
Oh, thank you very much. My hearing isn't very good, so I may have missed something, but
Sure.
would there ever be a consideration for the city to start its own nursery rather than buying tree after tree. They invest in themselves, basically. Like tree people in Los Angeles.
The city would need to have available land for there to be a nursery.
Cleared land.
Yeah, and then also train staff to manage it. That being said, New York.
So you're saying no.
Well, what I'm going to say is that Kingston actually already has a more available resource, which is the New York DEC Saratoga Nursery, which is a directly state grant nursery to get the best. If the goal is to lower overhead and to have more regionally local trees, that would be a good resource to go through. And I am getting some of our plantings for next year through them. What I would be curious in organizing, this would be less on like the city of Kingston side, but more for the region, is something similar to what I was a part of in Chicago region, which was called the Chicago Region Trees Initiative, where multiple municipalities organize together to work with nurseries to plan for the stocks that they need, and then also get a better bargaining price on those trees through that process.
I will just note historically, there was a tree nursery managed by municipal staff that has now gone defunct. And there's been 2 iterations. In between Hasbrook Park and John F. Kennedy School, there's a small fenced in area to the south of the playground. That was a big triangle that was probably like 50 by 50 by 50. That was a tree nursery when I started working here 25 years ago. And it just became a mini forest, and now I think that the school has cleared it out to put in just a sitting area. So that was a bust. And then the Forsyth Nature Center caretaker has a small nursery on the property there that I think that we use in some of the parks, although I don't know how up to date that's been kept. But there has been some amount of effort in the past to that has not been successful, at least the one at Hasbrook Park.
If it was more integral with the community,
Okay.
in a broader way of speaking, people could visit this nursery, get something of it, rather than it being a sequestered activity or off to the side. That if it's involved in the community, people might just be interested in it, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And there's also an orchard on city property, also in Forsyth Park, so there's a fruit orchard there.
Great. Okay, thank you so much for your time. You don't have to stay. And so we're gonna go ahead and continue with the other meeting, rest of the meeting. Are there any modifications to the agenda? So we're gonna review the minutes from November.
The changes.
I put the printed copies do not reflect Emily's changes or anyone else's changes. I always print these the morning of. If you send me changes after the.
So we'll just note it on here, we get to that part, and just.
Well, I have to assume that anyone else has read all of Emily's and other people's changes. They are not reflected here, but it's in order to print it, so. I guess what I'm
Somehow I
saying
didn't
is.
see, I saw the draft come through, but I didn't see anybody's changes.
I emailed Kevin with just a couple corrections.
I don't know.
Like typos, and the other was a thing I added about.
Did you Yeah, sorry, it was late.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
That makes sense. I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't read it unless I
Mostly
make
the
it.
changes I made.
Yeah, they
for
must have
clarification.
but one thing, like,
You know,
sorry, I know it's self-recording.
thank you. Yeah. And,
I'm sure I'm fine with that.
yeah, there was one thing, I just wanted a little bit more information about the PCBs, so in October, we went through, there was a deadline to comment on the PCB, the EPA's, PCB plans, for lack of for a short kind of name. And we decided that we didn't want to respond that we weren't gonna write a letter, but then Julie let us know that Steve Noble, the mayor, did write a letter in response, and so I just wanted to kind of make sure that got in there, why he did it.
Right, but you wanted me to follow up on the lower.
That's, yeah, but that's.
Which I haven't had time to do, but one thing
Right.
that's not in here is the flushable.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh,
And the agenda,
it's in the agenda,
I just need to report back on that.
and you put in about, yeah, flushables,
I don't
new
see it.
business aid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the minutes.
The wipes, you mean?
Oh, wait. Where? I don't think I have the
The
agenda.
flushable.
No wonder I can't find anything. Thank you.
That is in there, so
Thank
that's
you.
fine. So can we have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected,
Yeah, I have one
as
question.
reviewed? Oh, okay.
You asked me a question in the minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't sure I had the answer. It was REIP,
Mhm. Renewable energy, blah, blah, blah.
investment program?
Implementation plan.
No, implementation
Implementation
plan. I
plan.
thought it was an investment program. You're talking about grants. Okay,
Yeah, no, it's,
okay.
it actually is in the notes of that, I think. But,
Yeah, it might be. I
yeah,
just
but
couldn't-
I wish it was investment. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
Okay, it just seems like we always talk about it, but is there anywhere where people actually can read about it? But that's fine. If there isn't.
No, well, that's all good. I went down an REIP rabbit hole and ended up in
Oh, it was right there in your minutes.
And thank you so much. These minutes are absolutely amazing. Kevin, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
As usual.
Yep.
Kevin VIP.
Okay, so, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the November 12th, 2024 CAC meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. All right, we passed that. Next step. Okay, planning and land use, Kingston Wilderness Parcel Acquisition, otherwise known as down in Wilbur off Rodney Street.
So the environmental phase one, the survey and the title are all in progress. They're all supposed to be done by mid-December, which is now. So hopefully any day. Our proposed closing is for December 15th. It's not likely that will happen, but it's currently proposed for December 15th. And the, I guess that's all there is to say.
How big is the parcel again?
70 acres. It's 7 parcels, 70 acres total. And it spans between Kingston and Ulster.
And
So, that night, at our last meeting, they were gonna okay, funding it, and I didn't, so can you just report on that?
The Common Council approved the city's funding, which was half, and Scenic Hudson board approved funding the other half. So it is going to be bonded for out of the city's funding, and once the community preservation fund goes into effect, which is also December 15th, a mere 5 days from now, we will use the once the advisory committee is set up, and if the advisory committee agrees to do so, I would surmise that paying back the bond would be the first thing that would be used by the fund.
Mhm.
But yes, that was approved. Purchase was approved by the council.
Is this one of those things where it has to close by December 31st for tax purposes?
I don't
or
know.
something?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's a typical thing. If you have a December closing, it has to be New Year's Eve or.
We've been following for that reason.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It may not be.
I'm not sure. I will also just note, not next, but the Lawton Park properties all got reposted today on sale, for sale. 3 different parcels totaling a little over $1 million.
Oh my God.
what is do we know how large that is altogether?
Yeah, we just,
20 acres.
20 acres.
Lotley Park is no longer a park. And it's,
Are you joking?
Well, I know where it is, I know.
Well, I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't think they do.
Are you choking?
No, I'm coughing.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a drink. You can explain what
Okay.
it is.
So Lawton Park is we call it Lawton Park, but it's not park anymore. So as you're heading out the city of Kingston on Route 32, and you're just about to get to the chateau is on your left. Family Health Institute or whatever is on your right. On the left-hand side, as you cross the hill, there's a little pull-off in a wooded area. That's the entrance to what used to be Lawton Park. And it's 20 acres of various parcels, one of which is like a little itty bitty one held by someone else that also holds a parcel in the middle of Kingston Wilderness. And it was purchased a while ago, not a long time, I don't know how long ago. But the intent was to develop housing, but it never came to fruition, is the short version. And then they put it up for sale, and I saw it posted today at midday. Actually, my colleague Phil came in and he was like, guess what? Lawton Park's for sale. And then I spoke to the mayor, I said, we should be buying this. He says it's been on and off and on and off and on and off sale for a while. So it's not new information, although it's new to me, I was very excited about it. But frankly, I think it would be a good place to have housing and parkland. So,
I mean, it's really nice land. I've walked over there. It's actually gorgeous wooded land.
and it would be great to have a conservation development space.
And what,
Housing in the middle, in the front, and
That was fantastic.
so.
It's kind of hilly as well, right?
Yeah, it's
I'm not even on it.
I have walked, it's end of Pettit Street, right?
Yeah.
I've walked in there, there's a kind of a road, it's absolutely gorgeous, I've seen wild turkeys. So hopefully we can just get quick.
it was deaccessioned by the city of Kingston.
Do we know why? Like, what kind of park it
Yeah,
was?
no, I know, well, it was a fully developed park, with, WPA, infrastructure in the 1930s. And what happened was it had a reversion clause. And the city of Kingston Common Council, not pursuant to the 61 comp plan after that, they determined that there was vandalism and there was a fire in one of the pavilions and it was just like out of control, just get rid of it.
So the buildings were all torn down.
Or I know, unless you've seen
I'm not having
some,
to
any, kind of foundations or something. You would have had to build like the stone house at the Asper Park, it would have had something like that there. If you read the back issues of Freeman, you'll see from the 1960s, you'll see every Sunday there was a church or, Temple Emmanuel or somebody would be having it there. So, one of the questions that's always come up with it is why didn't the state legislature have to get approve of this deaccession? And I think the short answer is the reversion clause. We could go into case law on that, but we'll be here, forever. So we're not gonna do that.
All right,
So that's this short
Wow.
story.
so that'll be interesting.
Lawton Park, and I also looked into doing an easement with the Kingston Land Trust with one of the principal owners for that. Has dragged on and on.
And how many acres is that parcel?
I think the whole thing is 20 acres.
No, it's, but I mean, what you said,
Maybe
one of
more
the
than
land.
one owner, but I believe some of the owners are related entities. We don't need to go into that now.
All right,
Anyway, I don't have anything else to report on Kingston Wilderness, so
Okay.
when the next time we meet, it will be ours.
The road, the reason that we were interested in it was the rail bed
right,
runs through there.
yeah, so one of the things about Lawton is that
You could connect it along with the road.
the rail trail has to go on
Right.
32 because it couldn't go
That would
to
be
this
amazing.
private land. Because they're
Well,
right in that
Without
vicinity,
going up 32.
crosses. and
That's
stuff.
all.
Okay, so with smoke, air quality, so first of all, Eli Duker was gonna speak. Anyway, he's gonna speak and give us a report on all his data and so on in January, and I don't have anything else to report right now.
I do.
Okay,
As of January 1st, the fines for idling are increasing. So right now, if you are caught idling, it is a $20 fine. January 1st, it will be a $25 fine. And after 40 days, if you have not paid your fine, now you would be charged $40, you are now going to be charged $50.
Oh,
Julie, do we
Thank
have any information about how many people have actually been cited? No.
And I'm sorry, when does it become 50 after?
40 days.
40 days.
I'm sorry, after 15 days, it goes up to $50.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's ever enforced.
I did ask the police department and they said that they say they've ticketed people or just warned people. I can't remember. I feel like I reported that in the but I can't remember.
It's,
I don't know the answer if $1 has been taken from any person for idling. I don't know the answer to that.
well, thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay, zoning, the letter to planning about landscape, vegetation, and stormwater
Which
drainage.
is there if you want a printed version.
Okay, yes, so, I started this letter before the November meeting, and you asked, there was a couple decisions about whether we were gonna write just to planning and then write to enforcement, and then we decided to write all of them, so the letter is addressed to them both, but the idea is that when a project comes before the planning board, we are asked, there's a compliance in the zoning that, you know, has to happen for the application. And so most of what we're talking about in this letter is to submit a landscape plan and and then justify if they're not using native plants and a couple other things. So we're addressing in this letter, basically the lack of compliance in that. And then the other step is once a site is, what was the word we were, finished? Completed, yeah, once the project is completed, going forward, there's language that says that the landscaping has to be maintained. And we haven't gotten into any details about whether, say some green infrastructure, stormwater management things or anything need to be also maintained, but we were just talking about that one. So that is the job of the Building and Zoning Administration Department.
But we're
So that's
asking
the
here who
letter
does
that's
it.
going to,
We're asking who does it.
yeah, we want to make sure they know that, I guess.
But
I don't know,
But
that's
do we
right.
know that they are it? Because we're
No,
saying.
that's why we're asking, yes.
So we're not clear that.
Yeah, but somehow we got, yes. Yes,
Because if it is them, I think I would phrase this differently.
right. And because it's new, this whole thing about enforcement. So that's why, you know, we don't have very much about enforcement in this letter because mostly it's about compliance so that the applicant gets the information they need and then ticks all the boxes and provides what they're supposed to submit. There's a whole submission list, including a planting plan. So mostly this is about planting. And then I divided it into something we could actually go and see, which is South Wall, and then some of the other projects that have pretty much gone through the process, but didn't provide much in landscaping. So we give some examples. So
And you give one example of one that kind of did a good job.
yes. So
I mean, it has a native plant.
anyway,
I think it's a great letter.
Yeah.
You just.
Thank you.
Very few
Thank you.
And you did a great job of putting those other sites in. It's so comprehensive. It's actually
Yeah.
specific.
It's actually a really helpful sort of guideline. And I wonder, since like even we aren't clear on who is responsible for this, so we're forced to write this letter, that means like, it needs to be, like, it's good that we're asking the question, but we should also suggest that the answer to that question be publicized or clarified in a more public way, not only just Magna's in a response, you know? Because if we're wondering that, other people are wondering that as well.
Although we do say in the letter, you know, that it should be communicated to applicants, all this stuff that we right to know.
Yeah.
And we do have a deadline for when we want their response.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jen said she would go through and find the Latin names for the plants, and none of us are we're not that knowledgeable about native plants, and so it's hard to read these things and say, oh yeah, these are native or not. Just look at.
Well, some of them are obvious.
Yeah.
This one's
Yeah.
pretty obvious, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But also what you did, Emily, which I think is great, is at the end, you put selected resources. So they can go look at these incredible, I mean, there's incredible resources with this database that DEC did, you know, listing all the pollinators at risk, which plants to plant to attract them. There's lots of information. So I think it's great that you put all that in here. So hopefully somebody over there can look at it during their lunch hour or something.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing, is this the title of the book?
Yeah.
So that should be capped, right? Native alternatives to invasive plants is the title of the book. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, and I'm gonna italicize it when I give this to you.
Right. Yeah. Did you say there was a DEC reference? Because it's not in here.
Well, I think if they go to the Pollinate H, this is the really good website.
Yeah, okay.
The DEC one is very technical,
Right.
but these all reference it.
Oh, okay.
You know, this is that incredible, I haven't looked recently, but I know the database for the pollinator group in the Hudson Valley. I mean, it really lists every
Yeah.
kind of plant, what kind of pollinator it attracts. I think it takes from the DEC web.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this to
Yeah,
you.
and it also, by the way, lists nurseries, and I think, yeah, nurseries, so it's a really nice website. Okay, so the next step will be to clean this up and.
It's almost
send
ready
it
to go.
out.
Emily.
Yeah,
It's only
except for
very
she has to look up the plans.
Yeah, I can just send you.
So, yeah,
And then we have to make sure we follow up before the next meeting, right? If they don't hear from them.
yeah. Yes, good. Okay. All right, great, thank you. Yeah, that was very time consuming.
Or just be mindful that a lot of city staff take off at the end of the year,
Mhm.
Like a week for Christmas, New Year's.
at least.
Well, January 20, no.
We get a lot of vacation time, and a lot of people back at the end.
Yeah,
Well, I think we should just make the next meeting. If they don't make it, we follow up the next time.
yeah.
If they're all away.
Okay, and I won't be back till the 30th, so. Okay, the letter to the, okay, next Ulster County 7x30 renewable implementation plan, which is the REIP. I think it's right. Anyway,
Right.
I don't really have anything different to say from last meeting. The three of us that are writing it, we meet every other week and we have been making incredible progress on it. It's about 50 pages long.
oh my God.
And we're hoping that by our meeting at the end of next week, we will be in a position to be able to share it. I haven't heard anything about the county's plan. I don't know if they said anything at the EMC meeting.
They didn't say anything about it, but but I did get other information, which is that if a municipality can't do the entire report, what they really want is to identify any large, especially large parcels that could be used for solar, so that this working group can go to Central Hudson and say, we know that there are willing landowners that are interested in putting solar on, but they can't because there's not enough, strong enough grid. So Central Hudson, will you increase the grid? Because we know we have these projects. And so I got the impression that they were kind of segueing, but they didn't really report on the report. So the idea was that, for instance, in Saugerties, there's a couple places, and if Saugerties can kind of either just come up with the parcels or say, yes, we talked to the landowners and they could, and they're willing, there was definitely some interest, I think, in Gardner, where there's landowners that are very interested in the new agrivoltaics that are higher up and move so that you can do more than have goats under it.
Could have made a plants.
Yeah, or no, farming, actually
Oh,
farming.
really?
Yeah.
Also, there's one about pollinators.
Yeah, and so that's the next step, is to get Central, to show the opportunities for Central Hudson to increase the grid. I don't know whether or not Kingston already has enough connection, for the interconnection and stuff or not, capacity,
We're still trying to evaluate whether we do.
We
We don't know for sure yet.
Yeah, because I guess if we came through and said, yeah, there's 6 building rooftops, can we get some more capacity? That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
All right.
I just want to say a PS about electrification. Black Friday, I bought an induction range, which I've been thinking about for a long time, on sale. It is amazing. Everyone should get off natural gas.
Thank you very much for
Thank
allowing
you.
me to sit in.
Yeah, no
Thank you,
problem.
thank you.
Come back.
Thank you. You know how we all love natural gas stoves?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this thing is amazing. I mean,
Okay.
natural gas seems so dirty and awful. So I'm just mentioning that now that I've made the leap to electric hot water heater. I'm like, everyone should do this. And it was under $1,000.
Oh, wow.
I bought it, it's on sale.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Kingston Organics, anything new?
Just the numbers, we're up to 522 families, 1,053 people, and we've diverted 47.55 tons. And we got our highest ever the day after Thanksgiving rate was, surprising,
It was 93.
0.93, almost a ton. Wow.
And also, June, I think that we're up to 1,067
Oh, yeah.
individuals.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So Brendan didn't mention this, but he's been interning with me for like 8
Oh, okay.
and working, now doing his capstone project on Kingston Organics and other organics projects.
That's great. Thank you.
That's why I know. I'm another spy.
Free spots.
So, yeah, so that would make sense after Thanksgiving with
Yes,
all the,
and I should have sent out a note beforehand, being like, make sure you put your carcasses and everything right in there. I didn't say that, I mean, I think people still did.
yeah. Okay, community preservation, I don't know if this is a plan or a fund now, but do you have anything to report on the formation of the advisory committee, et cetera?
No, but I plan on having a meeting, hopefully later this week with Kara Lee from New Paltz, who was instrumental in putting together their community preservation fund. And also with our assessor, because everything goes into effect starting next week. And so hopefully I'll know a little bit, get a little bit more information about the actual operational logistics of how it works, like, does the clerk at the county know yet that a form needs to be filled out by everyone who is having this transaction? How do the people who are making the transaction know that they're supposed to fill out this form? All those different things. Who holds people accountable for doing that? Like, lots of different stuff. Yeah. Do I need to set up a special account for this, or are they just like sending us a check? Lots of logistical things that need to be figured out. So again, I'll have much more information about this in our next meeting.
And I think the law stipulates who's gonna be on the advisory committee. I mean, there's like.
The players, yeah,
Yeah.
not the
Yes,
names.
not the names, but players, yeah. And is it appointed by the mayor or the common council?
I don't know the answer to that either.
Yeah,
I got it.
but so all of
Yeah, I
that
think so.
has to will come into effect early next year or
Yes.
whatever, yeah. I talked to Carol Lee and she did say that their New Plus committee, they meet once a month. They're always like
Yeah.
looking at stuff and working with land trusts, so it's.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have money, they're still,
Yeah.
you know, because they're gonna be ready
Yeah.
to purchase land. So, in case any of you want to be on the advisory committee, but you
It's
can't resign from the CAC.
It's 9 people, right? Nine members?
I don't know, it seemed like.
Or maybe
it
it's
was,
5.
Yeah.
5 or 9.
Seven.
7?
Seven, okay. We only campaign for. it.
I know. The graphics.
Okay, Kingston Business Park Development. Okay, I know that Lynn and I went to the meeting. And I think Kevin was there,
I was on Zoom.
yeah. But do you have anything more on the actual?
No,
Yeah, okay,
I'm interested to hear how the meeting went, because I know when they did the pre-meeting with us, they presented a whole lot of information in a really short amount of time.
Well, they talked about different plans, like continuing the road to the
Yeah.
north, you know, and putting houses along that, or fragmenting it. But there's a big problem with that, which is the road that goes up from Delaware Avenue. It is so narrow. The access to the park is ridiculous. You can't add side, I mean, they blasted all that rock to create that road. So you can't put bike paths in, plus the hill.
mhm.
So I mean, it really is a bottleneck. I mean, there's just a problem with that road.
I think.
If that's your main, if that's how you're gonna get in or out. I mean, not to say that nothing can happen there. I'm just saying, you know, this is the kind of project that we wouldn't do today.
But
Build a
they-
business
yeah.
park in the middle of a forest, far from highways, with a narrow road. And I remember Steve Finkel telling me it was the most expensive road they ever built.
Yeah, so in terms, first of all, it was so hard to
Here.
hear and
Or
to
see.
see
He had that,
that I finally put the YouTube or whatever on my phone so I can see.
for some reason, the
Because they
presenter
didn't-
put the screen way in the
The
back.
screens were
Where was
way,
it? Here?
No,
yeah, and they were
but I
way
mean-
in the back, but there
But why
wasn't
did
one
they
in
have
the
the screen
front.
up front, which is,
And so
you
so,
couldn't see it.
and no one wanted to go inside the chamber area
Yeah,
to see it.
yeah.
So it was really distracting. I had a hard time following it.
Yeah, but I don't understand why the screen wasn't put in the front where we could see it. Every other
Those
meeting,
screens that are in the back, I don't think are mobile, they're in a, like a,
They're like that.
so you have to bring your own screen. if
no,
it's-
this one or the one in comp two, then you're like.
Yeah, because every
Oh, so
other,
they didn't do that
yeah,
anyway,
because every
but
other meeting I've done,
Kevin,
the screen is.
you probably had a better opportunity to actually.
Yeah, I could take the screen caps from the slides.
And then the guy,
Yeah.
there was an echo, I couldn't hear
So
what he was saying.
what did you, I mean, they gave a lot of options. Do you,
There were 3 options that I caught. One of them went straight up, I think they called it the ridge.
Yeah, and that's when they continue the road.
Right, that continues over to like Third Avenue, you know, that way, where those other lots are that are not part of the business park that are included in the project. Okay, yeah, that was one, and the other 2 look segmented. You were just like segmenting.
Fragmented.
Yeah, well, it was segmenting too. You have housing, and you have habitat, and you have housing, and another habitat. and-
What you shouldn't do.
Yeah, it's like the worst case scenario from Hudsonia, right? You know, it's like, you know, yeah.
Destroy, but I thought,
Chris Quinn could use it as an example of what not to do. However, the ridge one was the least problematic.
and I thought it also
But
made
it's
sense
also the fewest
logistically.
units.
yeah, because that's the other thing. They provide, assortment of units.
Did they say how many units with that one?
It's 60 some odd.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, that's the only time that's gonna make
Four
sense.
don't quote me.
And also you didn't have the problem with this road that's a bottleneck where you can't have a sidewalk. Which is, you know what I mean? You know that road.
Yeah,
It's really narrow.
But, yeah, so anyway, so they gave us some opportunities. Do you remember what the next step is? So it's moving along, and I'm sure we'll have more.
Tell you in a second.
Yeah, it's, so anyway, not a lot of action on that, but it's worth watching.
I think the business park meeting for December is canceled because it's pretty close to the holidays. But I saw that on the calendar.
But basically, the meeting was the consultant giving their presentation, what they're suggesting, and now it's up to the city, right, to decide if they want to adopt one of them? Is that,
I hope it's not that fast.
what would be the next step?
It says on their website, on Engage Kingston, the design study is expected to be completed in spring 25.
Yeah. So they'll keep working on the design stuff.
The PDF from the meeting and the recording are on Engage Kingston.
which I didn't go back and watch. So, Midtown Thriving, I went to that. The consultants did a lot of demographic research. First of all, they sent out a survey about people's interests. And so the biggest one was housing, across the board. So they had all these things like what's most important to you, blah, blah, blah. But then they actually asked for demographic information, and then they presented it based on that too. So like ages or race or income levels. So it'd say these people's, said this and that. So it was, and they were really, really happy with it because they've never really had demographic information when they do these kind of surveys. And, but the main one for across the board was that housing was the most concerning.
Is that going to be fun? Engage Kingston?
It all is on Engage Kingston, but they also had just gotten it the day before. So they were still kind of, processing it themselves. So then,
The results of the public survey and the recording and the
Yeah.
raw results are all on engagement.
yeah. And so then the next steps will be to kind of go through that.
Like tailor a project that would be appropriate for what they found out? Some kind of help? Because it is about development, right? Development
Right.
in Midtown.
But that doesn't mean they're gonna do any development.
I thought the whole brownfield, you get tax breaks if you
Yeah.
develop a brownfield.
Right, but you still have to have a developer. Yeah, right, I mean, they're not gonna do it. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so, that's that. This is all just report out, native planting, pollinator gardens. Well, Lynn and I went to a talk with Hudson Valley pollinator.
Oh, the one that Chronogram had.
Yeah, for chronogram, and that was very, very good. And then the spotted lanternfly.
Oh, I want to mention one thing. I'm sorry, I just remembered this. I was at an event, maybe it was an opening or, so I can't even keep track of them. Do you know the two women that do the bee habitat? There's two women who are artists. They live in Kingston. You probably know them, Julie, Emily, and they've gotten grant money. And they make these sort of bug hotels out of wood.
I've heard of this.
Hudson Valley, I can't remember their name, Hudson. Anyway, they have a project near Kennedy School, like they got grant money. So anyway, I ran into her, she used to be a neighbor of mine, and I mentioned that we were interested in promoting pollinator gardens, and we were talking about, we're not sure what it would be, but we'd like to promote it somehow in the city, and she might be someone we might want to talk to at a certain point, because her whole thing is creating corridors with these wooden bee things. And so I thought maybe in the spring, we can invite her to our meeting and have her talk about it or something, like
That sounds
15
great.
minutes.
Hudson Valley Bee Habitat.
Thank you, that's what it is.
And there's a pollinator sanctuary.
Yeah, that's what she was talking about near Kennedy School.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
Kingston
That's like
Ranchers.
Kingston Lanterns.
Because it seems to me like a lot of what we should be doing is pulling all these threads together, you know?
Yeah,
So that's somebody who might be involved if we decide to promote like a pollinator pathway or. So maybe in April or May, I don't know what people think, we could invite her. I'm happy to reach out at a certain point.
There's two co-founders, Emily Putoff
Yes,
and Elena Snizek.
yes, they're partners, they live in the Rondout, they've been here a long time. I think Emily teaches at SUNY New Paltz, she's an artist. But they've done a lot with this project, so
that's great.
I just thought, I don't know if we want to do anything, but
Yeah, but
maybe invite her to a
maybe
meeting like in
invite her.
April and February. Do you want me to reach out to her
Sure,
and invite her February? The date of that meeting would be the second Tuesday.
yep. Maybe coordinate with Julie.
Yeah, Julie, would I just invite her or is there a process to go through?
No, just,
But I'll let you know.
Make sure
Right?
she
She
knows.
says yes, I'll let you know.
Okay. Action, anything on the spotted lanternfly? since then. Did anything get uploaded to our website or anything?
Wondering on what? Is I supposed to be uploading something to the website?
I don't remember, but it seems like we did
I
have
could say
some
no.
references. Okay. All right, so far, it's been covered by the mayor in his letter, right? And,
Yeah, I do have on my list to ask him if he wants us to put spotted lanternfly, something on the back of the organics
mhm,
thing that we're gonna send out. We haven't sent it out yet, obviously, and I haven't asked if he wants to do spotted lanternfly on one side of it, so. However, if I do, I'm going to have.
Question for you, in 2021, when we first started having spotted lanternflies everywhere, downstate,
Yeah.
yeah, I got a mailing from somewhere, an email, and it said to, if you see spotted lanternflies, take pictures. Well, first you're supposed to squish them, and then take pictures, and then send them to state parks. I did that.
Send the bug itself, not the pictures?
No, the photos. No,
Ag and Markets.
There you go.
It would have been to USDA and Ag and Markets, not state parks. And yeah, we no longer have to do that in our counties, but if you're outside of these counties, like further north in the state or further west, they are still doing that reporting system. But
Okay.
USDA does not want our emails anymore.
because we're invaded.
Yeah,
we are
I
invaded.
invaded.
Yeah, I probably.
But they die in the winter, right? The freezing
No.
temperatures.
The adults die in the winter, but the egg masses overwinter. And each adult will lay 60 to 120 eggs, so it kind of explodes every year.
Okay, so, all right, let's consider putting some literature up on the spotted lanternfly. How's that? Because we know there's good references, right?
Well, because if we put out, actually, this brings up a good point, because if we put out, if we do decide to do the one half of the organics flyer is spotted lanternfly, ideally we would be directing people to something. And I don't have a something of our own that I would be directing them to. So currently, if we were to do it soon, I would be directing them to some other resource, which is fine. It's not like we have new primary, resources and anything.
Right. No, we would, even if we had a site, we would still.
Yeah. So if I were to do that, is there like the gold standard of who's the site?
Ag and Markets is the state agency that handles it, but USDA has a lot of good information too, so I think either one would be really good. And Cornell, of course, for extension. Okay, also spotted lanternfly is one word, so you can.
No, it is?
What is, the whole thing?
Yes, it's not a true fly.
It's just lanternfly.
What is it? Lanternfly, lanternfly is one word.
With a lowercase f?
Yeah.
No kidding.
It's not an actual fly, it's a plant popper, so.
It's a
The next time I do my crossword.
Plant
I know
popper?
that.
Okay, I'll.
Oh, wait, and then we learned what a tree was. This is too much.
What tree's that, yeah.
Yeah,
Mine's
go
blowing right now.
make room for my brain, in my brain.
Can I ask a question? Is that all right? I am wondering about the spotted lanternflies. What is the best time of year to intervene on them? Is it like when they're egg masses, or is it?
Depends on so many things.
Okay.
What your goals are for
Right.
management, like, do you want to just keep it away from your property? If that's the case, I would recommend removing any kind of oak tree in that area, so tree ppendant, and then anything else it might like walnut or maple. But if you want to make a difference on numbers, I don't think you ever will, but you could try scraping egg masses in an area, and that I think is shown to reduce the population very locally. But
Right.
they all come in, later on in the season, so I don't know if there's a best management practice for that.
So what would, I'm just wondering what you would be pointing people to do then with this mailer? If it's like,
Competition. Whoever can find the most egg masses and send them to USDA.
like a bucket of egg masks?
They do not want your bugs.
Squish them
It's also complicated to mail bugs.
and send us a picture of you squishing them.
No, you have to, but the egg masses, it's, hand
You
sanitizer.
can scrape them, into like a bag with hand sanitizer. It's pretty gooey, and it's really disgusting.
And that kills them.
It kills them.
Right, but I mean, okay.
I don't know what we would be asking people to do. Learn.
Right.
Scraping is probably, it would be asking them to learn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is good, yeah.
But I mean, if we just said what the egg mass looks like and scraping it, that would be very helpful, right?
Scraping into hand sanitizer, yeah,
What they look
it
like,
would be
the egg
something,
mass.
you know.
Mhm.
So if you just mush it, it's not enough?
You could mush it, mushing is fine, a lot of people will scrape though, and then it just falls to the ground,
Oh.
and they'll still hatch.
And it's black, white,
They're gray, brown or gray.
what does it look like? Like,
It looks like a piece of gum that someone smeared on a tree. It's about that same size, it's like an inch or two long. And it's usually covered in like a gray or tan waxy coating in the beginning of the season. And then as you get later in the season, that waxy coating kind of dissolves off of it. And you get like, you can actually see the individual eggs in it. And the longer you wait.
it's like invasion of
to
the body
crush,
snatchers.
yeah, the gooier it is. So,
Yeah.
the gooeyest insect I've
All right, yeah, so that's the thing though, like the more eggs you kill. you
The
know,
more
obviously,
adults you get
but the-
next year, yeah, but you know, they only show limited success with that, so.
Okay, thank you. The action on wetland preservation is that I talked to J.R. Jacobson, who is writing all the regulations, and by the way, the actual kind of wording of the regulations has to be done by December 31st, and J.R. Jacobson is at the DEC and the Bureau of Ecosystem Health. So what he told me was that we can write to them and ask them to tell us whether the wetlands would be in the jurisdiction of, okay, I'm just gonna go back. Every wetland, he basically said, every wetland in the city of Kingston will be protected because we're in an urban area. And that he felt he was pretty positive about that. It is based on a census block. And anyway, but he said we can ask for kind of like a jurisdictional determination. Because these are unusual in importance is what we're going for. Wetlands of unusual importance. And there's 11 different criteria, but we fit into urban area. So he said that we could actually, as the CAC or the city could do this, or a property owner, send their parcel in and say, is this wetland gonna be protected? And he asked us not to do it for several months because they're gonna get all these requests, but that we can do that.
So what does that mean? If you have a piece of property, we talked about some property that's for sale, that's not developed, and there's wetlands on that property. So what does that mean? The developer has to acknowledge the wetland and can't build if within a certain distance from it? I mean, or that's what they're trying to work out? How it will be protected?
Well, it'd be protected, my understanding is it would be protected by DEC, so you would have to go through the normal wetland permitting process to be able to do anything within that
So you
wetland.
have to get a permit from DEC.
Yeah, so
So you have to acknowledge you have wet. I guess the secret, or it's a large project, you have the secret. But the DEC regulates it.
Mhm.
And then I wonder what they do, like what if you want to build stuff? I mean, I wonder what the law says,
Right, it would be the same as it is for other wetlands currently.
which means you can't build within a certain,
Yeah, it's a 100-foot check zone
Oh,
of
okay.
wetlands, and then you can if you get the right permits. So I've done work within a wetland zone, you know, but that's with approval from DEC.
But you haven't filled it in and built a house on
That's correct. I built a
Okay.
bridge.
have
You
you
built a
seen,
park?
have you seen,
A
pro-
bridge.
it? A bridge.
have you seen projects, Jim, that this was an issue, it was gonna be developed, there was a wetland and they built,
This happens all the time, yeah.
and people
Even
generally
if-
respect the law?
Depends. It has been different in the past because a lot of the wetlands are not protected. But this law would put most of the wetlands under protection from DEC.
Mhm.
So
So this is new.
This is
protection.
a really big news.
this is huge.
Wow.
This will protect a lot more wetlands.
Because nationally, the protection's been diminished, right? This is a state.
This is, yeah, so, all wetlands are protected by Army Corps, so you still have to apply for a permit with Army Corps. But they are so bogged down that they usually never get to these smaller projects, but, protection from DEC adds that extra layer of protection.
Because I thought if they were not navigable, they weren't protected anymore. longer.
That's like streams and rivers.
Okay,
Yeah.
That, no, they have to be, I think, they have to be, the wetlands now have to be connected
that's what I'm saying now.
for the federal
Oh, yeah.
protection.
But
Yeah,
but
so-
it used to be that way.
Right.
And then what about vernal pools?
So
So-
we protected, that's the wetland of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's G on the list
Because
of
we have a
A
bunch of
through
those.
K.
So the
So
law's really good, this is a really good thing.
this is really good and it is, and Cornell like did a lot of mapping, used, with air photos and everything to identify. But it's not, we're not gonna have wetland maps necessarily like they used to and so not only are these unusual importance wetlands, but also the size of the wetland used to be, I always get this wrong, 12.4, 14.2, what, 12.4, and it's going down to 7 point something. Which they didn't even divide it by 2 to make it easy. And so, anyway, so there's a lot more protected. What I think that we need to do is to understand what we should be telling the rest of the city and the planning department and so on, so that we can say, yes, these have been protected, and so that's why I was thinking the jurisdiction would be the first thing, but he did ask me, and maybe Phil, your assistant, could help with some of this, because he's a GIS guy, right? Well,
I could do some of those.
oh, you're still gonna be here, okay,
I'll be around.
yeah, okay, because we could be ready to send the letter, so I'm gonna.
Maybe the letter would go to, I'm sorry, you're talking to,
To the DEC
Right.
Bureau of Habitat,
But-
so I don't know if it would go to Region 3 or to
you
Albany.
mean to just clarify what exactly
Mhm.
the law is, and then
No,
somehow.
to actually look at the parcel and say, yes, that wetland is protected.
Oh, actually see the map and identify which ones are protected in Kingston,
Mhm. Yeah,
because they're not all, they're under 7 acres.
no, they are, because they're in the
Yeah,
city.
yeah, so I thought they were all protected, but we still
But
want to
we
map.
want to, I guess we want to,
We want to map them.
his point was like, if someone really wants to protect it, you're going to be actively doing that, and that other municipalities are not going to be as active, so we need to, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the native planting, same
Yeah.
thing. If you don't enforce it or don't pay attention to it, it's
Yeah,
not that valuable.
We should go back to the NRI and look at the wetlands layer.
What's the?
Yeah. Yeah.
Natural resource inventory.
Right, I mean, I think it's pretty easy for us to get the parcels,
Yeah.
and anyway,
One issue that I've noticed over the years, and it was reinforced at I think the 2021 or 2022 ISAC conference, New York State Conservation Council conference, was capacity of DEC to delineate wetlands.
Yep.
And we had an irate staff person that berated Governor Cuomo, and Governor Cuomo was still in office at the, on Zoom. This was, it had to be during COVID, I think. And they put it in the budget, governor takes it out. Every March, put it back in, legislature takes it out. And it's like this game going back and forth, and they don't have the money for it. For example, there's 20 some odd acres at the Chambers Farm, where Seed Song is over in Ulster. I don't think you're gonna find that on the wetland inventory. The other one in Kingston that you won't find is the back acreage of Hutton Brickyard.
Oh,
It
wait,
was delineated
that the park?
during Sailor's Cove, and there is a map, Chazen delineated it.
wait, is that Sergeant Apartment? What do you mean?
No, we're talking about Hutton Brickyard.
so what do you think we should
Oh,
do to
that's,
remedy
that's
that?
the resort.
Well, Sue knows about it, I know about it, Julie knows about it, you know about it, somebody will, if it comes up on a secret review, somebody will bring it to this board and we'll make comments, but that's really not the way it should work. There should.
Well, I think I just said that may not work that way, because we can ask them for a jurisdictional determination.
Yeah,
So,
right.
okay. And also, I know, who who knows about the number of DEC staff, but I know that they have, they are hiring, they have hired people to get ready for this whole big change.
Mhm.
So, is 5 more people or 10 more people enough? Who knows? But they have,
They do have fun that number of roads to.
they found the funding to hire people,
Okay.
so.
So you're saying with that, they would, the Hutton Brickyard, they would get on the map? DEC would know about it and map it?
Theoretically, yeah.
And then
Maybe
let
it-
Hutton
it
Brickyard
went-
know?
DEC actually reviewed it during the environmental review process. They just didn't forwarded it over to the mapping person to map it.
So it's not in the maps?
Right,
Well, they haven't mapped any new wetlands in a long time.
exactly.
So that's why
Exactly.
this is all changing. This is all changing, so hopefully,
I just
I
want
hope
more,
it is.
we're more than 90 minutes
I
in this
know,
meeting,
we
we have
really
less
need
than
to
30
do
minutes
this.
left to
Yeah.
get through everything else.
yeah, thank you. Okay, I lost my minutes. So, okay, the Lower Sofa Stream Management Plan update, this is important. I sent the resolution in to, the clerk and Andrea Shaw, the president, the head of the, whatever is her position is. And, we got put on the agenda for December 18th, and I'm not going to be here. And Kevin said he couldn't commit. Andrea said that
Kristen will be there, she told me.
she
Either
did for
Kristen or
sure.
Dennis. Yeah, either Kristen or Dennis.
She did, she left it pretty open because she said she might not
And
be
I
able
saw
to.
her Saturday at Kingston Manchester.
So she's going to be able to do it?
She said she
Okay.
would, 'cause she had reached out to me directly on the.
Okay, all right, so that's, laws and rules is on the 18th, and anyone on the CAC is off the hook because we're going to ask the planning department to show up, Kristen Wilson or Dennis Doyle. So we did, so that's where the resolution is, and then there was a water quality coordinating committee meeting on Monday, which was yesterday. I know Kevin was there for part of it, and I would just report that there was a really, really good presentation by an engineer about the capacity, the flooding, the issue with flooding at the Ashokan is full, and we get a big storm, and he's done a lot of work, and I didn't understand why he did it, but they are definitely watching this, they are definitely looking at the effect on the plaza and the Dutch Village. I am not going to say whether or not they're going to do a flood study for that area, but he basically said that, and I don't know, one of the things he said was that of the 9 floods, 5 of them happened when this reservoir was full. And that can be really dangerous because there's not enough capacity, and then the Ashokan overflows and sends floodwaters down to this area. And he explained that there was, anyway, so I'm just really happy that they're looking into this, and maybe Kevin has more information.
Too much more.
And I just hope the dam wall is really well reinforced, since we're down river, down dam of that.
Well, they also discussed development in the floodplains
Yeah, they
pretty
did.
extensively. And we have that perennial project, Kingston Meadows, which might have been what they were hinting at, but nobody mentioned that project specifically.
Which is along the Esopus.
Yeah, they described the area. And also where the town of Ulster has done on Washington Avenue, some development from the thruway.
Right, that's kind of Ulster, right, the Kingston exit.
That is.
It
yeah.
looks horrible.
But the thing in the city is a different
Yeah,
thing.
no, he
It could
did-
affect
he-
Ulster.
He pretty much pointed out more than once about the issue with filling in the floodplain in the by the traffic circle, and that is all in the town of Ulster.
Tell that was a foolish thing
Considered-
to do.
And he basically said it's a concern, and I asked him a question, I said, how can, and basically he said it's kind of piecemeal, because every time they do it, they say, oh, this project won't affect downstream.
Yes, I
but
remember
that-
when Irene or whatever, there had been some major floods where I remember being on the freeway, that whole area was flooded.
Yeah. There was a really big one in 2005 that you talked about. Anyway, and there was a lot more about, oh God, like how it's going to be affected when they close down the Delaware Aqueduct, and whether or not they can send enough water to New York City and stuff like that. But it was pretty interesting, and anyway, so that's happening, and
So we gotta keep going.
yep.
I just do want to note that we did receive as a city a letter, a note from Town of Olive, which was their resolution,
Oh, good.
which they then circulated to all towns bordering Esopus. So we might want to do the same thing.
Well, you know, it says on the resolution, this big long list of who we're supposed to send it to, and I'm like, well, who does that?
The clerk,
Does she? And she just knows like who everyone is?
that's what the clerk does, and if they don't know who it is, they ask, this came from their clerk.
Okay, great.
It's the role of the
Yeah,
clerk.
it's in the resolution to send it. That's great. So Ahsoka sent us?
Nope,
Wow. Olive. Yeah, I meant Olive. I looked at Ahsoka's. Okay, the Hudson River PCB Superfund site, we have two things, H and I. One is so first of all, the entire Hudson River is a Superfund site from, well, definitely from the Troy Dam down to New York City. The lower Esopus is a Superfund site.
The
And
Lower
then
Hudson, you mean?
The lower Hudson, yes, the lower Hudson. And this meeting, which is in 2 days, that Lynn said,
You know, I don't know if I'm gonna go. This
Yeah.
is in Orange County.
yeah.
The
it's in
EPA
Newburgh.
giving their report, right,
So,
about the lower, the Hudson. I couldn't
So the
find the
thing-
thing. that-
so the thing is, here's the announcement, but
Okay.
there was a big article today or there was a story on WAMC, and it looks like it really is about the cleaning up of the upper Hudson, but they're having a meeting in Newburgh. But it
So
doesn't
it's
have
not about the
anything-
lower.
No.
And we only care about the lower Hudson.
No, we care about.
No, I'm saying
Yeah,
this group, obviously we care about the lower Hudson.
yes, we care about.
So it's
but
probably not
not-
going to, it's gonna be about the upper Hudson, because it's kind of far away.
The other thing that it's about is about the fish advisories. But, I would just say that it
Is there a
wasn't
Zoom
what I
on
thought
Zoom?
it was.
I thought the thing you circulated was mostly meant for people who are in the fishing industry.
Yeah, it says calling all Hudson River fishermen. I think
It's
aimed at
so,
fishermen.
it was very confusing. That was very.
But it doesn't
confusing.
sound like this is something that pertains to us particularly. I mean, if it were, I could go, but I think
Yeah.
it's kind of far away.
Well, it's still, according to the story today, it was all still about what they're gonna do in the upper Hudson, whether or not they're gonna clean anymore. So yes, I would say that at this time of year, and it's in Newburgh, which, is an hour away, that we can forego that. So, but I don't have anything to report about anything besides that. Nothing seems to be happening about PCBs in
Well, I
Newburgh.
think I was going to follow up on it. I had such a big topic. I
Yeah,
haven't, but
that's okay.
I will
We
try
still
to.
have time.
And so the
Thank
whole
you.
point is what's going on with the lower Hudson in terms of PCBs, not Bosworth, we know about that.
Yep. Okay, flushable wipes.
Okay, so you wanted me to follow up on this,
Mhm.
so you sent me the attachment with the AMC, which is the Ulster County Environmental Management,
Mhm.
whatever, there was a
Yeah.
contact, I called her 3 times, she never called me back. I looked at the laws, there's a law in the Assembly and the State Senate and State Assembly that wanted to force companies that make flushable wipes to not advertise them or label them as flushable. Nothing's happened, you probably know this, they've sat around. So I did call our wastewater treatment plant and I talked to Alan.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and he said a third of all the pumping stations, and there are 17 in Kingston, it's a huge problem, not just the wipes. He said you would not believe what people flush down the toilet. Socks, hats, clothing. So I said, wow, so there's an issue in Kingston regarding the bigger issue of people flushing stuff down the toilet they shouldn't. So anyway, he said he'd be happy to meet with us and talk to us about, I don't know, some kind of marketing or something we could, I don't know what we could do about it, but he said people really aren't aware.
And what are they doing? Nothing?
Yeah, it's great to know that there's all this, like, thank you for looking at the legislation that hasn't been.
It's languished for years.
Yeah,
It was first introduced like, you could easily go online, since she sent me the thing, like 2015, and nothing's happened with it. So I wanted, and I really wish this woman would call me back, because I
are you
wanted,
talking about Roberta Clement or someone else?
no, somebody else. It was this, I don't have my computer, you sent me the attachment about
Mhm.
flushable wipes, there was a contact at the Ulster County EMC.
Oh,
Mindy
okay.
somebody, I called her 3 times, she
Mindy?
doesn't call me back.
Okay.
The point person at the
Okay.
county, and I
Okay.
wanted her to talk to her, what does the
Right.
county do? Because she's the one that said, everybody should join together and lobby
Yeah,
for
okay,
these
right.
laws to
So
get
let me-
moving, but she never called me back.
Yeah, let me.
So I'm a
okay.
little bit,
It sounds like
Maybe
the guy
she-
you talked to, it sounds like maybe he could give us some kind of an estimate of how many hours of work.
Well, I
are
asked
spent
him,
and,
Ellen,
like, you know, what's the, because
I
that,
asked-
that, like, we could provide that to, like, Senator Hinchy, and she could get this thing
Yeah.
reintroduced.
well, I asked him if to quantify it, he couldn't do it on the phone. He did say a huge amount of manpower goes into this,
Yeah,
but he's happy to come talk to us.
Okay,
And if he did want to talk to us, I could then say to him, hey, here's what we want to know. Is there any way you can quantify, or, you know, we'd like to do something, we could lobby our representatives,
so
but
let-
we need data.
I'll follow, yes, so the one thing, you're right, apparently that the New York legislation has just languished, which is why we want to get it kind of going again, but also there is talk on the federal level to ban nationwide,
Oh, I didn't
not
say
ban, not
I think,
advertise.
I'm glad that discussion's happening, but I think the chances of that going forward are nil.
Oh, now? Yeah, forget it.
Yeah.
So, but if we can arm our local legislators with the information.
And that's why I do, if there was one calling up in the county, I would like to talk to her, because obviously it's stronger.
Yeah, no,
The whole
I
county.
think, okay, so the EMC is only this, they are only the, what do you call it, messenger? This is being led by the town of Gardner.
Oh,
So
there's
I will
not-
get you, yes, so I'll get you. the
Well, I mean,
information.
so do you want me to contact Alan Winchell and see if he wants to come
Yes,
talk to us the
yes.
next meeting in
That'd
January?
be great, we can
Not
ask him a bunch of
January.
questions.
And so, wait, so when I call him, so we're gonna ask him, any way he can quantify,
Anything
What
about
kind
it,
of use?
you know,
like the hours they
man
spend, or the
hours,
amount of
cost.
damage it does, or
yeah,
like,
it's a lot more money, he definitely said it's a huge problem.
yeah.
And I
Like
said.
if any of this, of the equipment has to be taken offline for a certain amount of time
Yeah,
for repairs,
Well,
like
one
all
thing
that
you
kind of
said was that only the pumps that have grinders, I don't really know my sewage language, but he said there are certain pipes that have grinders, so this stuff, the sweaters and the wipes
Right.
clog up the grinders. Not all pumping stations have that, so it's only an issue, but still, that's a third.
Yeah,
But I'll ask him about, any way to quantify, tell us more about the damage, and we would like to talk to Hinchy or whatever we can do to try to
Yeah.
help solve the problem, because obviously
Oh, yeah.
taxpayer money's getting wasted.
right, yes,
And people just don't know either.
right.
So, I mean,
And
I
sewage
am,
infrastructure is some of the most important, some of the most expensive infrastructure in any town, so.
right, so, maybe there, how do we?
Protecting taxpayer investment.
So there,
I
yeah,
think we need to do this big flyer. It's gonna talk about, the tree is gonna talk about, wetlands gonna talk about.
well, this could all be good
Sewage.
for, Earth Day too, yeah, let's keep that on the mind, so,
All right.
yeah,
So
so.
I will let you know, Emily.
Yeah, and I checked back,
Hold on.
Michelle Gluck is,
That's right.
she's just the person who sends stuff out for the
Well, she's
EMC.
the one, what was the contact on there, that's why I called her.
Yeah, but, I can give you the other people, but, the handout that they provided has QR codes for the Senate bill and the Assembly bill.
Yes, I looked
But
at
it
that.
seems like we might, as you suggested, like, be a little more concrete about why we need this from our Assembly person and our Senate.
Wait, why do you mean what? You mean,
Why we would like them to,
Like
well, a lot of them
Reintroduce
to
the
like
bill.
push this
Yeah,
legislation.
yeah.
Which might be a letter, but I should talk to Gardner because we better as a county, right, or.
well, Yeah, and we'll
Or
talk to
just
Ellen
us
and
doing
we'll
it,
see
or-
what we can do.
So you'll forward me
Yeah.
that person,
Mhm.
and then I'll call that person.
And they did it because they have a sewage treatment plant that's having trouble and it's dumping, anyway. Okay, so let's keep moving. Ulster County Ag and Farmland Protection Plan, that, there was a meeting about that, and the deadline to comment is January 31st, and what it would mean is if we want to talk about kind of urban ag, we could, submit comments to the county planning department about this protection plan, agricultural farmland protection plan. Is anyone interested in following up on this? January 31st, we need to comment on it.
And who are we coming to? I'm confused.
To the county.
They're coming up with this plan and
They have produced the plan and now it's open for public comment until the 31st of January.
and it's online, I assume, everything's online? Yeah.
So,
So what will we say, just we support this, or do we talk about the value of farming and?
I don't know, I haven't read it, so I don't know. So, I mean, I did talk to someone who's on the advisory committee, and I said, is it worth talking about? And she goes, yeah, because we could kind of put in our 2 cents about urban agriculture.
When is this? Oh,
The meeting was already, I can't remember why I didn't go.
See if I got the
I
meeting,
had
that would have been
time.
more helpful, then I could,
Was last,
I would know it.
It might be recorded,
I think it was last Thursday.
yeah,
yeah.
Change the, I mean, land trust.
I think we were at, oh, I
yeah,
went to.
yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna have to read it. If you want me to look at it, I'll.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Kevin, you know the most about this. I'm happy to help, but you really.
I just haven't looked at the final plan.
All right, so
I've been in
Kevin
contact
and
with
Lynn are gonna follow up on
All right,
this.
so you be in touch with me.
Because we would need a little bit for the meeting in November with the deadline is just November 30th. January 31st, our next meeting is in January. Okay, so we need a little bit by then, but then the final comments would be the 31st.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Ulster, the retreat, Julie did find out that we did have a retreat in the past. I have not had time to even think about this. Is there anyone else who wants to take this on? The idea would be to kind of, think more about the.
Let's hold this till January.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not a pressing.
The year-end report, Julie, do you want to?
The CC will put together a year-end report. I draft it. You all let me know how your feelings are on it. Relevant to this, which is also the next item here, the members' term review. There are printed copies here, if you would like a printed copy of the version of the draft. By the way, we are not voting on this tonight, but we are going to vote on it at the next meeting. You will see the terms of everyone who served at some point during this year. Of note is that Brianna expired at the end of this October. Emily, you expire in 21 days.
Oh my
Kevin, yours
God,
expires in
yay.
21
Yeah,
days.
You guys better not believe me.
Oh my God, we didn't know this.
So that means that if you would like to be reappointed, you need to resubmit another application
Oh, Kevin and
for
Emily
your
and
second
Brianna.
time.
And what happens with this report? Did it get posted on the website?
Okay, so this gets approved by the common council. Does it get approved? It gets shown to the common council.
Mhm.
I don't know if they vote on it or not.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think they vote on it, but it gets presented to them, and then it gets put on our website.
And what do the yellow highlights mean?
I'm gonna walk you through it, I just wanted to let you know about this part, so just FYI. Kevin, Emily, and Brianna has to take action, otherwise you will be not on board. I would like you to be reviewing the entire thing, not just the yellow highlights. The yellow highlights are my questions, like, was there a letter or action taken for pollinator pathways? I don't know, and I don't need this answer right now, I would love you to just be reviewing the entire thing, we're not gonna go into detail now. You'll see that it goes through the major things we work on, land use, wood burning, air quality,
Kingston-wide rezoning, street tree and canopy cover, tidal waterfront flooding task force. All of these things are annually in here, but I always specify what specific action was taken during the year. I go through the planning board and department review, so what specific sites we reviewed, what letters of support were submitted for municipal initiatives, what city plans we reviewed or supported, any environmental reviews that are larger than just the city or bigger, so that you'll see all of that. I don't remember if we included advancing legislation to the Common Council for adoption for the local sources. Oh, we are now. So I guess that is a yes. On page 5, that's a yes, I can move that yellow. Then it goes on to talk about outreach, who presented, special guests, and presentations. And the last two, even if you do nothing else, don't look at anything else that I did, these two are specific asks that I need from you. In the professional development, I need you to be telling me any professional development, meaning a meeting you went to, a webinar, a conference, a training, anything that you went to that gives us more clout. During our turns? During your turn.
I should keep better track.
No, I don't know. Does she have to say during your turn?
Well, why would it be relevant before that?
Because she's a professional.
All professionals.
So is this what you put in, is this for 2020?
This is for 2024.
Oh, so you already know we did these things?
No, if it's A, B, or C, I know that you did it.
Okay,
If it's D through J, that was from last year, and I highlighted it because I don't know.
Yeah,
all right.
okay.
And then the other one is organizational liaisons and appointees. As of last year, these are all the ones, and I erased a few that, or eliminated a few that I knew Anita was involved in. I need to know what other boards or positions that are environmentally related you all hold. And we will add that to this list. If you see something on this list that you're like, nope, nobody belongs to Grow Well Kingston, I'm going to cross it out. And we don't need to do that right now. So, I absolutely need your input on professional development and organizational liaisons, all the rest of it. I would love you to look at it and give me comments. I sent it around as a Google Doc, so you can do it right there live. And I would love to adopt this in January, after which Emily will bring it to the public safety and present it.
Okay.
So we never had that special guest in 2024.
So,
Okay, like her, I like her.
yeah, we did.
Oh, we did? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
there were ECBs,
I'm sorry.
which is why we're
Sorry.
freaked out about.
It's supposed to come back.
All
Sorry, you're not in here.
Coming back.
Sorry.
right, thank you, Julie, for doing that.
Where would the Ulster County water quality, would that be under,
Ulster Water Quality, what do you mean?
in the meeting that Emily and I attended?
Professional
yesterday?
development. That's for any meeting, conference, workshop.
That's not on there, is it? Okay, so we'll insert that, and we'll take out.
It's down here. Ulster County Water Quality.
Oh, it's under,
It's under-
oh, okay.
So for the membership terms review, I need, I go to the website and find an application.
Yep.
Okay. I guess I have to do it because I'm getting appointed to the EMC. That letter's gone out. Okay, I'm gonna just go past open issue discussion.
Also, just as a reference, we will be voting in January on the chair, secretary, and the meeting schedule for the year. So we don't need to discuss it right now, but just continuing into January, we will be holding our first meeting on the second Tuesday, and at that meeting, we will decide what we want the rest of the year to look like, whether it stays that way or whether it changes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the zoning working group email.
So on December 2nd, I received, as a representative from Climate Smart and CAC, a generic letter from the City of Kingston Zoning Working Group stating, when the City of Kingston Common Council adopted the new form-based zoning code in August, it included a provision to establish the zoning working group. The purpose of this group is to track the implementation and impacts of the new zoning code, study any potential changes, and periodically suggest any changes to the Common Council. We encourage all boards, commissions, and Common Council members to reach out to the group, meaning the zoning working group, if they have any suggestions, concerns about the code, or items they'd like the group to study. For more information about the zoning working group, including the latest meeting minutes, and navigate to kingston-mi.gov/zoning working group.
The group can be reached at this email, and then it lists who the members are.
So our letter to Sue Cahill should be sent to this group as well.
It was, oh,
It will be.
it is, it's
Okay,
copied.
okay.
But we sent them a letter and they didn't acknowledge it yet, right?
I don't know.
I mean, they didn't write me. Okay. So I sent it.
I
all right,
thought the
I'll
part
follow
where
up.
wrote back and said you would share that with the group.
Or maybe you did. Who is the board chair? It's
The chair of what?
the working group.
The zoning working group does not list a
They
board
don't have,
chair. They list Tanya Garment as a member, Ines Yupanki as a member, Nora Maki as an alternate member, Rebecca Holderness as a member,
Yeah.
Joshua Stratton Rayner as a member, Bartek as a staff, and Sue Cahill staff.
yeah, and I don't know any of those people except for Tanya, the city staff. Okay, so I'm gonna follow up and say, I mean, we didn't ask them to do anything, really, we just told them. But I will make sure they acknowledge the letter. All right,
CAC outreach and distribution list. At the last meeting, I was asked to create a live form on the CAC website where people can register to get emails about EMC, or CAC rather, basically to become part of a distribution group, which is the same thing I do for Climate Smart. Climate Smart has probably 200 or 250 people that have signed up so far. It is just a widget on the side when you go to kingston-ny.gov/Kingston CAC. They just put in their email address, they say they're not a robot, and I get sent an email that says, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I then add them to a distribution group, and you all need to decide who's going to send out communications to this group and on what topic, or on what frequency, or what cadence, or whatever. So far, we have 3 people that have registered.
So this is something new, right?
Brandon?
yeah,
How often does Climate Smart do, how do they do it?
That I'm chair of Climate Smart, and also the staff, ex officio member, non-voting. I send out a notice to everyone on the list prior to every meeting, so we get a lot of public at those meetings. So I send out a notice, and I send out job things that I get, I send out relevant events that are happening in the region related to Climate Smart, but we created a social media policy and a communication policy for that group, so that everyone knows like what should be going on Facebook, what, that group has a Facebook page and all that other stuff. CAC would have to decide under what circumstances should I be communicating with this group.
And if they got 200 people because they're on Facebook and, I mean, that's, how do they build that through?
Yeah, but that's also been
Can I
over 10
suggest,
years.
like, so we're gonna finish our 2024 report, and I think maybe at our next meeting, we'll have, yeah, we can talk more
That's a
about
good
what we're
idea.
gonna do.
Because that's a big issue.
Yeah, okay.
but now we have it, so that's good, because we could send something out, spotted lanternfly. Thank you.
No.
Okay, any announcements and events? No, Christmas is coming, okay. Okay, I already announced
As
the other ones, I was aware. Complete streets, we still don't have anyone, public safety. I did go to the meeting, which it was weird, it was a weird day because of Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I reported out on that we were gonna send the resolution for the lower Esopus, and that we were looking at the form-based code. So that's all I have for that one. And can I just skip through and say mine?
Mhm.
So, okay, so Ulster County Environmental Management Council, so I know that Kevin is on this group, but we had a speaker from Patterns for Progress. And actually Adam Bosch came, and this is the kind, and he's the head of Pattern for Progress. And this is where I really wish the EMC would actually put up some kind of notice beyond a few people. But anyway, he talked about Patterns for Progress has done a whole thing on housing that is supposed to come out this week, a report, and he went through all the statistics for 10 counties about how much people are moving in and moving out, and, you know, what the growth rate is in prices of housing and population, and how schools are declining. And he, his big point was that if you don't have affordable housing, you don't have the services that everyone wants because the people that provide those services can't live there. And we all know all of this, but he had a number of real data, really amazing data. And then the commission that, or the whatever, the Hudson Valley Affordable Housing and Land Conservation, which Kevin is involved with, Steve, oh my God.
Steve Rosenberg.
Steve Rosenberg came and gave a talk side by side about how Steve was at St. Hudson, and he realized that he really wanted to do this thing where, like, how can you balance conservation with housing? And he's gotten all the land trusts and all the low-income housing, like Habitat and all these Hudson River housing, together to basically work in a collective, collaborative impact type situation to move forward on coming up with these kind of things. And so the example they used was Cunningham Farm, which is right outside Red Hook, but they're going to use 10 acres or 20 acres right next to the village and put water and sewer, and then the rest is going to be still farmed with Hardy Roots Farm. And anyway, so that's the kind of stuff it's really amazing that they're.
You mean the town bought the property? They're putting sewage?
The town, the town bought it, with the CPF that they have.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
And they're putting housing, low-income housing on part of it, and then the rest is farming and trails.
So it's a great example of good planning.
Right, and taking that, and one of the things they say is, okay, even if you have 100 acres, maybe there's 15 that could be used for housing, and so he's got, anyway.
So it's like
really
looking at a
great
site
skills.
saying, this is most valuable to preserve, this could be developed.
Yep, so anyway, so that was, Kevin knows a lot about that, and,
Is Steve
Where
Rosenberg
was
still
the
saying
meeting?
Hudson?
no, he.
I lost track of where we're at on the agenda.
Okay, so now you're at Clemens Park, unless you want to say.
Where did Adam present? That's what
Oh, at the EMC, I just.
I
done it in
think,
front of
okay,
you.
that's where I put it, but I did it by intuition.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know. Okay.
So,
The Climate Smart, no quorum. We did have a TENS meeting. I don't know if you want to discuss that or.
We need to discuss that.
Okay, well, we have one. We'll note that in minutes. And I'm still speaking to Roberto Rivera about green hydrogen. That continues. No resolution in sight, but we are discussing it. And Repair Cafe is happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
It happened this Saturday.
Yep.
Okay.
December. It came and went. Yep.
I'm sorry, what's the name of that community out in Red Hook?
Cookingham Farm.
Cookingham, yeah.
NICEAG, we continue to meet bi-weekly to plan the conference. I will say that you should not necessarily hold the same dates as you were holding before that we announced, because there is now a statewide Parks and Trails Conference being held in Kingston at the exact same time.
I was told that.
And so we are likely moving the NICEAG conference, which is fine, mostly because the Parks and Trails people took the venue that we wanted to use, which is great and fine. So either way, we are still planning. So if you already wrote it in pen in your calendar, scratch it out.
The tree commission, I went to the meeting and it's so nice to see the urban forester there. It's really great. So, yeah.
And he seems really
Yeah.
qualified.
And they talked about some action, like their Arbor Day activities and some of the other things that he's doing.
So this 30-inch oak that's mentioned in your letter about native plants on the property, street is that on?
Prince.
Yeah, is that, I mean, I hope they don't take that tree down.
It's on their property, it's not on.
Right, it's not a street
Yeah.
tree.
Also, he showed, there's a tree canopy site and anyone can go on it and look at the tree canopy for, I guess, all the world. And so he did show that
For the world?
or at least the United States. It's called treecanopy.us. And you can see the tree canopy and where, so it was good. All right, so thank you for your patience at 11:20. Oh,
8:05.
No, what? Do we have quorum for the meeting on the 14th?
I plan to be here.
I do.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So, motion to adjourn?
Motion, so moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. All right, so if you have any questions, I'm not gonna rush off.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me sit in.
Like my crazy glasses.
That happened to my glasses. I feel like I need frames. Thank God, if they happen to have them, it's all different. And if you don't have them,
I know.
you have to pay like hundreds of